So Gary Lockwood here from Sony Ericsson. How big do you think the blogosphere is outside of North America and some key markets in Western Europe? I mean, our interest is global, so...
Yes. Well, I mean, it's becoming gigantic in China. If you... one of the few... point to a screen. If you go to...
not government controlled, right?
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. It's huge in Japan. And I'm going to define huge in a second, but if you Google Technorati, David Sifry, and I think it's the State of the Blogosphere report. He does a chart showing from Technorati's viewpoint the language and the shifting language picture. Right? It's much less English now, and it's heading a lot more toward other languages and other countries. And so it's getting bigger. But I think he was on a point too, is that it's not the measurement of our old media measurement. How big the blogosphere is.
It's size, it's more influence, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and even then, it's who knows who. I mean, Q's done things with wine that are pretty amazing by these deals, and all it takes is one little virus in the bloodstream to start multiplying. And I think that's the message, is that it's not about measuring in old media terms. It's so hard for us all to get our heads around, because we're so used to looking at SRDS, whatever you call it here, standard rate data, and see. What?
You mean the TBR rankings?
Yeah, right. And Nielsen and all that, say, okay, what's biggest? That's all that matters. It's just not true anymore. It's just not true. We never wanted to be part of a mass. Right? The mass culture really lived only 3 decades. Jay Rosen, a professor at New York University, quotes a sociologist whose name I'm forgetting right now, who says there are no masses, only ways to view people as masses. And that's the problem, is we look at these huge numbers and say, okay, that's all that matters. And it's not. It's harder, in a sense, for the advertising world, it's much harder to deal with that, because there's no one-stop shopping anymore. And that becomes the issue. How do you deal with all these damn little niches, like flies buzzing around you, right? I think in the PR world, it becomes more interesting, because you can deal with people in a different way. I've had this discussion with Steve Revell before he even joined Edelman, that part of what you have to do too is see yourself as an ad agency, which I know you want to do, but also see yourself as using money, spending media money. That part of the answer to this blog question is, and paper post is, don't try to buy the blogger, buy an ad on the blog. And you've supported the blog that way. You've said something about your respect for that area. You've entered into a proper relationship and get your message across the proper relationship, and then who knows where it goes from there. So I'm not sure we yet know what the definition of big is. What's big enough to pay attention to? What's big enough to worry about? How do you figure ROI in this world? I don't know. I've had an argument with ongoing discussion in the blog world is that we're not ready for prime time. Bob Garfield wrote a piece about a year and a half ago in Ad Age in the US about the chaos scenario, saying that big advertisers are recognizing that the big old media aren't the right way to go, but the new media aren't ready for them. So in the meantime, there's this chasm. And so, and Alan Rusbridger of The Guardian, who I'll see later today, does a spiel where he points to the declining size and of circulation and advertising revenue and so on of big media and the increasing size of new media. And he draws a green blob in the center and he says, that's where we're stuck right now. The advertisers are still valuing this more, even though the readers are clearly valuing this. And we've got to try to figure out how to jump over that into that new world. And Garfield's point is that we in the new world aren't ready for them. Because why not? I wrote a piece in Ad Age about 8 months ago arguing the need for an open source ad marketplace. What we need first and foremost, I'm going off on a tangent. That's what bloggers do. We link. We need a few things, I think. We need first open standard metrics. We've got to have it, and I'd love to hear your perspective about measurement and all this, because you're going to be concerned about that. But it's impossible to come to blog world and say, where do I start? Absolutely impossible. How big is it? Who is it? What is it? You just don't know. And if we have better metrics to do that, it would bring all kinds of benefit to us. So we have to get our act together as a medium and do that. And I've said that in relation to the blogs. I'm going to say that again in a second about TV, new TV. So first we need metrics. Second we need, I think, an open source ad call. The problem right now is I'm a member of one ad network. And on a given month I'll get an ad, the next month I won't, but I'm imprisoned within that network because it's a closed network. The advertiser too is imprisoned, saying, well, I want to come and see this whole vast world, and I want to use these new metrics and use analytics to say, I want the best. For the best may not be just traffic and size. The best may be influencers. The best may be people who are early on a trend. The best may be people who are on the top of the trend and know when it's hot. It may be people who have better, deeper relationships with people. There's all kinds of new things we can measure. And so if you measure that and analyze that and say, okay, I want those. Problem is, that one's in blog ads, that one's in Federated Media, that one's at Bright, that one's over there, that one doesn't put his email address up because he doesn't want to get spam. And I dealt with folks at GM Planworks 2 years ago. They were trying to start a blog network or just an ad buy blogs. Impossible, absolutely impossible, because you couldn't find them. So what we want to be is we want to be atoms attracted to molecules at whim. You want to be this month, you advertiser said, I want to advertise your product there, there, and there, and there, and there. I found the best ones where I'm the molecule. And the bloggers too can turn around and say, oh, I want that one. And I'm good for that one. Let me attract it to your ad buy and get the money. And then next month you go away, and we all go to someplace else. We've got to expose then, I think, the true value of the marketplace.